Joining us now, Senator, he's always been one of the most accessible senators to come on our show. He's a great guy, and we have him as the favorite to win. We think he's going to win. Senator Tom Garrett, good to have you, sir.
Hey, John.
Let's get to your own campaign. I mean, things look good. I've got you as the favorite. I think you got a shot at winning on the first ballot. But, Senator, I've been at so many of these conventions. You hit that gavel, you never know what the hell's going to happen, right?
Yeah, you nailed it, though. The harder I work, the luckier I get. And we really are touching all the bags. And, you make your own luck. We're running on our record. I guess 5 years ago, we ran as a constitutional conservative, limited government in favor of regulatory reduction and reform. And in 5 years, we've done everything we said we were going to do. Well done is better than well said. You got myself and then three guys who say the right stuff and seem like good guys. And candidly, I like a couple of them a great deal. But if I'm a voter and I'm living in this day and age when what we get again and again is somebody who says one thing and then does another, and I get to, sort of pick a candidate from either somebody who's made promises and kept them or somebody who's made promises, it's not something I got to think long and hard about.
So you go to this convention and just walk our audience through it, because obviously there's a big part of our audience that are some of them are most likely delegates to that convention. So walk us through it. Where is it? What time is it? How is it going to work?
Nelson County High School, right on Route 29 between Charlottesville and Lynchburg. Registration begins at 9 a.m., closes at 11. If you're not in line by 11, you're not a delegate. Individuals who are delegates had to have signed up through their local units. We have somewhere just south of 1,400 folks from 23 distinct localities, covering an area larger than New Jersey. And that's about all it has in common with New Jersey. Mm-hmm. We'll go select members for State Central, national delegates, and the congressional candidate. We're going to have one ballot for all the offices the first time around.
Wow.
And I think we've the leadership in the district has done a great job of looking at the state convention and other district conventions that have happened and picking up pointers, and I think it'll be well run and efficient. It's democracy in its truest form. These are people who are informed. They've made steps to engage themselves in the process, and so it's really the pinnacle of the thinking person's electorate. And hopefully we're out there by 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
That's not going to happen.
Although
it's never going to happen. You'll never get out of there at 1 o'clock. First of all, I love the idea of putting all the candidates on one ballot, have one election, count the votes one time, and then the other offices will be done because the top 3 and 6 win national delegate and somebody wins chairman if there's a battle for that, and then you go on for State Central. So the only time you could have a second ballot is if one of the congressional candidates gets not 50% plus one. But I love the idea of one ballot because that really saves a lot of time. Now, why Nelson County High School? I mean, that's kind of in the middle of the district, but boy, for some, this is a several-hour drive, isn't it?
Yeah, sure. Look, the district's massive. Myself and Senator Bill Carrico used to argue over whether the 5th or 9th was bigger.
It's the 5th.
The fifth edges the 9th by 100 square miles or so.
Yeah.
So there's really no, hey, within 30 minutes drive of everybody. You've got a congressional district with ballpark 750,000 people, and the largest metro area in the district is Charlottesville, so it's rural. And that's fine. That's the way I like it. I grew up in the country, and so I kind of get the folks. Ironically, and I'm not making a big point of this, but I'm the only person running who grew up in rural Central Virginia. But yeah, Nelson's about as central as it's going to get. I didn't have any say in picking the location, but I think 5th District Chair Lynn Tucker did a good job on that.
Now, one of the things you always get concerned about with one of these conventions, Senator, especially with a district as big as yours, the biggest in the state, bigger than New Jersey, is, some people, to get there, it's 2-3 hours away on a Saturday, so they got to leave at 7 a.m. They'll get back at well into the night. So 1,400 people are signed up. How many people do you think will actually be there?
We think with volunteers and workers that will be north of 1,000.
Wow.
Probably fewer delegates.
So about 1,000, and probably maybe of the delegates, you figure what, like 950, 1,000, something in there, probably?
I mean, the only reason to prognosticate is so you can prove to yourself later that you're capable of being wrong.
Right, exactly.
But, I think 1,000 is a good number.
And so, without giving your campaign strategy away, but it's always fun when that many delegates come, and they're going to be picking their next congressman, their next U.S. House representative, because the winner is most likely going to get elected in November. They're going to be the favorite going in, regardless of who it is. So, how do you get your message in? What do you've got? 5 minutes, 3 minutes? How much is your speaking time?
Yeah, no, it's easy. Number one, I would take exception with the supposition that the winner of the Republican nomination is going to be a favorite. All candidates aren't created equal. The Democrat candidate has won elections. I've won elections. Nobody else has ever won an election. So knowing how to do it, knowing what right looks like is always helpful. Number two, our message encapsulated is what I said earlier. Well done is better than well said. If you're picking a brain surgeon, if you pick the one who has the most flowery rhetoric and gives you a vision of wonderful brain surgery, or do you pick the one who's actually done it? This seat was James Madison's congressional seat. Somebody asked me, how does it feel to potentially be looking at replacing Robert Hurt? And I said, Robert Hurt's a nice guy. If you want to stare at the ceiling and lay awake at night, think about trying to replace James Madison. Those are some really small, big shoes to fill. Mm-hmm. But we've done it. We made promises on being conservative. I've been the freshman legislator of the year, the champion of regulatory reform, the champion of free enterprise, the champion of criminal justice. We've got the highest conservative rating in the Senate year after year from the Tea Party Council on Legislative Action, from the American Conservative Union. Or you can pick somebody who gives a good floor speech. And that's what democracy is all about. But again, in this day and age, who do you want? You want somebody who can talk, or do you want somebody who can get things done?
Well, not to disagree with you, Senator, but I've heard you speak. I think you're a very formidable orator. I don't think you're going to lose anything at that convention. I know some of the other guys are good speakers, but I've heard you speak many times. Plus, you were the only guys that stood up to Senate leadership, right?
I think I am the only guy that did it publicly.
Right.
And again, my fiance has dubbed Senator Norman Baby Boehner. If you want somebody who's willing to go in that room and say, consequences be darned, I'm going to do what I think is right, but we've done that too. Mm-hmm. So I guess if I'm a good speaker and well done is better than well said, then well done and well said is better than well said too.
It is going to be very, very interesting. Now, I want to get to Paul Ryan. If you get elected to Congress, my supposition, your word, is that you're going to be a thorn in his side, probably not going to be invited to his office too many times. What do you think about the fact that the Speaker of the House came out and said, you know what, I'm just not comfortable supporting our presumptive Republican presidential nominee? What did you make of that?
Yeah, that was disconcerting. I did listen very closely, and I know you've been a big supporter of Mr. Trump's.
Yes, sir.
I did listen very closely to what Mr. Ryan said, and I think there was an at this point. I think that's counterproductive. I think we know who our nominee is going to be, but he's got a little bit of time to come around, I hope. Look, people can wonder about what Mr. Trump would do with the Supreme Court nominee, with an attorney general appointment. They can wonder. We know what Hillary would do, and the voters have spoken, and they've said, hey, we need a real shift in this nation, and they believe that Mr. Trump is the vehicle for that. If we let the anybody but Trump faction gain traction, then we can rest assured that Hillary Clinton will appoint the next Supreme Court nominee, and then we'll have a cabinet and executive branch agency heads who continue to legislate through administrative fiat, and that is what is killing opportunity and initiative, the ability of people to advance themselves and create jobs, and that's not an option. So, I heard what Paul Ryan said. Like I said, it was very disconcerting, and I hope he'll come around, because the other option is no option at all.
Are you comfortable with running as the Republican nominee for the House of Representatives in the 5th District with Mr. Trump on the ballot?
That's what we're about to do. Yeah, I'm comfortable with it. I mean, look, God has given me the ability to control things, influence others, and the rest I just got to give to him. And Donald Trump has demonstrated the ability to flummox the prognosticators again and again and again. At the end of the day, I'm going to run against Jane Dittmar. And I don't think, heck, in the 5th District, I think Mr. Trump's message really resonates.
Yeah, I think he's going to do very well.
It's been absolutely destroyed by the departure of the furniture industry, the textile industry, the decline of the tobacco industry. And, you know, these are good, hard-working people. They're looking for something different to find a way to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. They're not looking for big government solutions. And you know, I hear a lot of that coming from Mr. Trump. I'm praying for him as it relates to some of the social issues that are important to me. But like I said, the other choice is no choice at all. We can conjecture on what Mr. Trump might do. We know what Hillary will do, and it's just not something that America can handle another 4 years of.
Okay, Senator, you've got a minute and a half. What is your message to voters that are coming to your convention in the 5th District? Why should they nominate Senator Tom Garrett?
There's not a relevant area of expertise to being a congressman in the United States about which any of my opponents has any more real-world experience than I do. There's not an area of expertise or of legislative know-how that anyone in this field has done more than I have. And there's nobody running for this office who's ever looked the voters in the eye and made a series of promises and kept them except for me. And if you want to go by that shiny new model, only to have a recall on your 10,000-mile odometer mark, go for it. But we've got a proven track record of strong conservative reform and the willingness to stand up to leadership even when it hurts.
All right, that is going to be the final word. Your vote got to get there. If you're a delegate to the 5th District Convention, it is on Saturday. It is at Nelson County High School. Registration opens at 9. Doors shut at 11. You get there at 11:03. You can't get in. You're out. It's a long drive to be there. Make plans for that. And 5 candidates, I think, running for Congress.
We're down to 4. One dropped out and endorsed us.
One dropped out. So there's 4 remaining. And the favorite there in our book is Senator Tom Garrett. Senator, good to have you with us. What's your website?
TomGarrettForCongress.com or Facebook, Tom Garrett for Congress.